Female serial killers are nowhere near as common as their male counterparts. Aileen Wuornos killed 7 men between 1989 and 1990. She was the 10th woman in the United States and the second in Florida to be executed since 1976. The United States Supreme Court decision restored capital punishment. Join us as we discuss one of the most notorious serial killers of all time. Hey guys, I'm Sai, and welcome to ACEcast Nation. This is our new series on serial killers. This is the third episode in our true crime series. It's brand new-ish, it's the third episode. We select a different serial killer each episode, discuss the evidence, the crimes committed, everything we can find on these crimes. Needless to say, due to the nature of what we'll be discussing, it's not suitable for people aged under 18 or of a sensitive or nervous disposition. We'll always try and treat these crimes with tact and respect, as the victims. It's important to note the victims are real people, real families, real communities which have been affected. You can find all our podcasts and series on our YouTube channel in video format, as well as audio download on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, ACEcast, Pocket Casts, and TuneIn Radio. During these shows, you'll find interviews, podcasts, and content on all sorts of subjects. Shows on mental health, football, films, TV, wrestling, music, conspiracy theories, serial killers, and much, much more. So for the third episode of this series, we're going to look into the brutal and depraved murders by Aileen Wuornos. To join me to take this trip into the depraved, scary, and brutal world of serial killers, I'm pleased to welcome Rhys back to the show. Welcome, buddy. You all right?
Hello, Si. All good, mate?
Yeah, so Aileen Wuornos was, obviously there was that film with Charlize Theron in, where she won an Academy Award for it. She was really, really good in it. She looked like she acted like it was like scary. You forgot you were watching a film at points. Like Aileen Wuornos, she killed 7 people in a year. So, despite him not being as many people as like Dr. Shipman or Dahmer, it was in a short space of time. So,
and she was scarier than both of them.
Oh, she's. Have you seen like some of the interviews with her? Mate, really, really unsettling, isn't they, to watch?
Out of all the serial killers, she gives me the tingles. One of the worst.
She's
her and Charles Manson. They're like scary people.
See, Charles Manson was just like, he was like this guy who just wanted like chaos and just. I know what you mean. He's really unsettling.
Yeah, you can see the devil in him, like this. You can see evil.
Yeah,
like
they just come across as
Harold Shipman. You don't see evil in them. They are, but you don't. Even Ted Bundy, all them, you don't see the evil in them. If you did, they wouldn't have got away with it so much.
Yeah, they're all quite charismatic, and
when you see them,
you see them speak, you can see how they got people under their sort of ruse to get them to come back to the house or to the car.
Like you look at Wuornos and Manson, they don't even have to speak. You've just got to look at their eyes, and
she's got that look.
Chills.
Right, so let's go through. So it's going to be about an hour. The show. It's so she was born in Michigan, 1956. She had a Finnish American mother. Her mum, though, was 14 years old when she married her father, which is odd.
Wasn't he like 15, 16?
Yeah, he was 6. All right, yeah, okay, I got you. So they got married real young, which I suppose it's unusual, but I mean,
Yeah, wasn't it because
at
she
the
was
time,
having her,
yeah, I think
or
because
she
she
had
was
her?
pregnant or with her, just trying to see there.
And
But
then I know she had a brother, didn't she?
yeah, she had a brother, but after less than 2 years of marriage, 2 months before Aileen was born, she filed for divorce. So she wasn't pregnant when they got
Right.
married, but she was pregnant like by a couple of years
Yeah.
later. But then she
That's
filed
right,
for
'cause he was
divorce.
banged up, wasn't he, when she was born?
Yeah, so the father was incarcerated at the time of the birth. Leo Dale Pittman was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but he was also later convicted of sex crimes against children. He eventually committed suicide by hanging himself in 1969. So, yeah, it sounds like it doesn't go into too much detail, but it sounds like there was something going on. The guy was mentally ill, but had also committed crimes against children, and Eileen's mum got out of the situation. Um,
But then it gets worse for Aileen, doesn't it?
yeah. So when she was almost 4 years old, Eileen was abandoned by, or all the children were abandoned by the mum. She left them with the maternal grandparents, and they legally adopted Keith and Eileen, was the brother's name. So they went to live with the grandparents, which we've heard that story already in this series with Dharma, wasn't it? He was with the
Yeah.
grandparents because the parents basically fucked off. Like, I'm
But
not
the
implying that it's the
difference,
grandparents' fault,
yeah.
but it's like,
But Dharma, his grandmother was nice and decent, wasn't she?
yeah, I,
Whereas in Wuornos, didn't her grandfather abuse her?
yeah, I think so. Let's get to that now then. So by the age of 11, Jesus, she was already engaging in sexual activities in school in exchange for things like cigarettes and drugs and food, which to me, that's crazy, mate, because like 11, that's primary, last year of primary school. That is frightening in itself,
Yeah.
because there was no, we said before on many occasions, there was no internet and stuff like that to influence that type of behavior. So to me, if she's doing that at 11, that says to me definitely that there was something going on at home for her to even know, you know, what she's doing. And you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
at 11, you wouldn't be thinking about those things. So she said that her grandfather was an alcoholic who had sexually assaulted her and beaten her when she was a child. But before beating her, he would force her to strip out of her clothes. At age 14, she became pregnant, having been raped by an accomplice of her grandfather. She gave birth to a boy at a home for unwed mothers. Um, but the child was placed up for adoption. A few months after her son was born, she dropped out of school. So, like, she had a lot of issues. By the time she was 15, her father had killed himself. Her mother had left them. The grandfather and his mates were sexually assaulting her. She'd become pregnant and given her son away, all by the age of 15. Like, that's a lot of
That's
strain on a
intense.
child's mental health. Do you know what I mean? That's going to break anyone. Even as an
Regardless of who
addict.
she turned out to be, no child should have
Yeah.
to go through that.
No, mate. Let's face it. that period from 11 to 15, or a bit older, a bit younger to 15, that's going to have had a big influence on how she turned out, because that would have broken her. From that point on, she had no chance of
I I think from the age of
living
4, she
a
would have
full
been
life.
broken, her mother turning her back on her. You know,
Yeah,
my little girl's 4 now, mate, and how loving they are towards their parents and things like that. Fuck me.
yeah. Like we said
Couldn't even
before,
imagine.
I could never imagine like turning my back on my kids anyway. But like,
Oh,
But like, what I'll never be able
Even my ex, her turning her back on me, I could never imagine it. I know she never would, like, but it would break my girl's heart.
It's a weird one, isn't it? And I've never really been able to get my head around it. But then I've never really been able to get my head around parents who like hurt their kids or
Yeah.
abuse their kids. I don't understand it. I got like no idea how that can be a factor or become like a thing. It baffles me and it upsets me when I think about it because like as a parent and a father and stuff, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
Yeah, like I know we all get angry. We have moments. We'll shout at our kids and things, but the ones like you say who abuse them and hurt them, and I, I, I can't fathom how they can do it.
No, like I can never really understand, not just like your own kids. I've never been able to understand like adults who like hurt kids, and I know like generally like murderers and especially child murderers, they're cut from a different cloth. They're not like they're not like you and me, and I get that. I'm not saying, but what I just don't. I can't fathom it. I can't
Yeah.
I just don't understand it whatsoever. Like you say, I can understand losing your temper with someone. I can understand shouting at your kid and and I can understand being in a situation where people have got no money and they're struggling, or single parents, and everything's on top, and they're just, they feel like there's no way out. I get all that, but I still don't get like hurting the kids or
Nah,
doing stuff to
you
the
just
kids.
described my life there, mate. But fuck me, how can you hurt your kids? How can you
Yeah,
hurt any child?
so it makes no sense to me.
Don't get me wrong. I bet every single parent has thought, "I'd love to smash the crap out of you now, you little bugger." You're not gonna.
Yeah, it's
But your
just,
kids
just
will push you to your limit. That's
like
just what they do. That's what they're good at.
they love it.
But
Push that button.
how can you not fucking love the adorable little shits?
She yeah, so she dropped out of school around that sort of after she'd given herself up for adoption. Around the same time, her grandmother passed away of liver failure, which meant that when she was 15, her grandfather threw her out the house, so she had to begin prostituting herself out and living in the woods, basically, because she had no other options. So, like that again, I don't want to be like super sympathetic because of what she goes on to do, but from if you just take the portion of her childhood into consideration, it's fucking horrific. And like, what chance did she have as a human to turn out as like a functioning, decent human being? Like, what chance did she have? Because all she knows is abuse and
From the people closest
alcohol
to
and sex. But that's all she knows, like
and
from
that's
four
like you
upwards.
say, your main job as a parent is to protect your child. And like
But
watching my parents with my kids, I'm sure they love them more than they love me as a kid. I'm sure all grandparents love their grandkids more than they did their own kids.
yeah,
Honestly, watching my parents, I can't wait till I'm a granddad. Seeing them with my kids and that, mate, it's fucking magic.
but
And then
like,
got her granddad doing, you can't even know.
what the thing is, like kids, they learn off their parents, don't they?
Yeah,
So all she knew from 4 to 15 was like abuse and alcohol and drugs and sex. All That's all she knew. So it's like, what else is she gonna do?
yeah.
She got
And
kicked out of the house at
the
15.
underlying main lesson there, though, what she learns is even the people you love don't care about. You don't care about anything. You just don't care about life.
No,
They
and
taught her, yeah, just
what she learned very, very early at the age of like 11 was that she could use her body to get, she could do sexual things to get money and to get what she wanted and manipulate men, which comes into it a bit later on. But obviously, so she's 15. she's had to go into prostitution, and she's living in the woods, which is near her old home, which again, is pretty fucking horrific for a 15-year-old. So it wasn't long before she
15-year-old
started.
girl as well. Not, I don't mean it in
Yeah.
a sexist way, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
Year-old girl having to be on her own in the woods. It's scary enough for anyone.
Mate, can you imagine just living in the woods without, like, she hasn't got an iPhone to switch on the torch either.
No, nothing.
I mean?
Just you.
Fucking hell.
And after everything she's been through, she knows she's there alone.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, mate, is when you've been through all that by the age of 15, and then you've got to go with, like, prostitution just to be able to feed yourself or whatever, it's not going to be long before you're in trouble with the police and having other issues.
Yeah.
So, like, by the time she was 18, she was then arrested for driving under the influence of DUI. I think it's like driving under the influence of alcohol, I think, isn't it? Because I
I'm
think
sure
in
she
America,
ended with fucking 50 or 60 felonies.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
If
but
not, like you say, all the minor ones, though, that is a knock-on effect of what she got into.
Yeah, she goes on. And if you think by the time she's 18, they're getting arrested for a DUI, her mental health is completely at an all-time low. So, like, obviously, it's easy to say in hindsight that you can see she's on the path to killing, because it seems like a natural progression. But, like, it's easy to say that with hindsight, obviously. But, like, she's going real quick. But then she got arrested for a DUI, and she also had firing a gun from a moving vehicle. And she didn't appear in court, so she was charged with failure to appear. But 2 years later, age 20, she hitchhiked to Florida and met a 69-year-old yacht club president, Lewis Fell. They quickly got married. The announcement of the marriage was in the local newspapers, that sort of thing, equivalent of Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah.
However, she continually involved herself in confrontations at bars, fights, arguments. She was briefly in jail for assault. She hit him with his own walking stick, leading to him getting a restraining order against her within literally weeks of their marriage. But that's all she knew. Do you know what I mean? That's how she'd seen her family behave. So of course she's going to behave like that to, her husband. This is a really sad story, mate, in many ways.
It's like the guy, like, you look at her, let's be fair, she's not a looker, is she? At all.
No, she's not great, but
it doesn't seem like she had a charming wit and personality about her.
She's got the crazy
And
eyes.
Was he, like, quite well off on that, the guy she snagged? Like,
I would imagine so. He was a president of a yacht club, so
yeah. He
got to be
must have had
few
a pretty
quid
penny behind him. So, I'm not being funny. If you've got money, you can get hot women. Let's all face facts here. What the fuck went on there? You say that, though. Look at Wayne Rooney. Shakes Fran.
Yeah.
This is the same as people who are children. I can't fathom it, mate.
Yeah.
Like Wayne Rooney. Don't get me wrong, he's one ugly fucker. But I still wouldn't go and fuck someone's nan. Not if I was a millionaire. No way.
It's a bit weird, mate, isn't it? It's like, I suppose whoever floats your boat, I guess. But, so she would, within months, he had a restraining order against her. Just like literally after the marriage. Oh, not months, weeks.
Is that charming wit and personality shining through?
Christ. So she went back to Michigan then, in 1976. She was arrested in Antrim County and charged with assault and disturbing the peace for throwing a cue ball at a bartender's head. Who hasn't been there? Literally, what we were just talking about
for the show.
We were just talking about that off it. Disgraceful. On July 17th, brother Keith died and she received $10,000 life insurance, which they annulled. The husband and her annulled the marriage after 9 weeks, and then she was arrested for drink driving. She used the money that she inherited from her brother to pay the fine, and spent the rest, spent the rest of the $10,000. Sorry, she spent the rest in 2 months buying luxuries, including a new car, which she wrecked straight away. She just basically blew 10 grand on getting wasted buying shit. But she was then arrested for armed robbery. So let's skip through some of these because there's a long list of felonies. She was arrested for forging checks. She was named as a suspect in a theft of a gun and ammunition. She was arrested in Miami for car theft, resisting arrest, obstruction of justice, failing to provide identification.
How much jail time did she actually do?
Doesn't seem like she got jailed for any of this stuff.
Look at how many fucking crimes.
Yeah, it's ongoing. It's
again, I don't mean this in a sexist way. You tell me a male in America who got a rap sheet like that who haven't done jail.
Yeah, by 1986, she was detained for questioning after a male companion accused her of pulling a gun and demanded $200. So, like, you can see the change there, where she's not using sex anymore to try and get money.
It's about power now.
It's about, like, she's using violence, or she's starting to threaten violence.
I think it's more about power now, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's power with her, or if that's just what she's.
Or maybe she used to be stunning.
Mate.
She used to be stunning, so she could use sex as her power, and then she got into the drugs and everything, went ugly as fuck, and sex was no longer a power for her.
Yeah,
so she had to whip the gun out.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been out on a Saturday night, and if I didn't have that 15th pint, I wouldn't have slept with who I did. They'd have had to whip the gun out.
But then, do you reckon it's just because that's all she knew? All she knows is like sex or violence and drink and drugs.
It's got to be, haven't it?
Do you know what I mean?
It's the only way she's ever taught how to get what she wants. She was never taught manners or respect, or you work for something, or you do this. It was taught sex, violence.
Yeah.
And drugs.
And basically, it's like, if you want something, take it type thing as well. In both ways, she was taught, like, with it, like, for instance, with her grandfather, it was like he wanted to whatever, so he did it. So she, like, as a child as well, she's got to be thinking, well, that's what people must do, because that's what kids do, isn't it? It's like they copy their parents. Do you know what I mean? And they copy the people they're around as children. So, like, if those people are swearing loads of time and stealing and doing all this shit, that's what they will do naturally, because they mimic what they're around on a daily basis. Around this time, she met a girl called Tyra Moore, who was a maid at a hotel and a beach, Daytona Beach gay bar. They moved in together, and Wuornos supported them with her earnings as a prostitute. The Daytona police arrested both of them at the bar for questioning regarding an incident in which they were accused of assault and battery with a beer bottle. 1988 March, she accused a Daytona Beach bus driver of assault. She claimed that he pushed her off the bus following a confrontation. The woman, Tyra Moore, the woman she lived with, was listed as a witness in this incident. And up until her execution, Wuornos claimed that she was still in love with Moore. So that seems to be someone who she actually had genuine feelings for. So let's move to the murders. 7 men were killed in a period of 12 months. The first in 1989, November 30th, 1989. God, it doesn't. I thought it was earlier than that. Do you know? I thought it was like. No, for some reason I thought it was like 70s, 80s.
No, 89 to 90.
I know it was, because I said at the start 89 to 90, but it just, in my head, it's just my age, mate, I think.
It's mad, isn't it? When you think the year 2000 was 20 years ago. Can you remember, like, celebrating the millennium and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And what a total fucking anticlimax it was.
Fucking pile of shit. I hate New Year's
Yeah,
Eve. You know?
that was 20 years ago, man.
It's crazy. I went to a Manic Street Preachers gig in the Millennium Stadium and left an hour after I got there.
I ended up drunk in a house party in Penarth with people I didn't know, and I was dressed as a nun.
Excellent. It's another tangent we go off on.
Yep.
So, first victim was Richard Malloy, who died on the 30th of November 1989. He was an electronics store owner in Clearwater. So, he was a convicted rapist whom she claimed she killed in self-defense. 2 days after he died, the deputy sheriff found his abandoned vehicle, and on December 13th, his body was found several miles away in the woods. He'd been shot several times. 2 bullets in the left lung were found to have been the cause of death. It was on this murder that Wuornos was initially condemned. The next murder...
Say, it was a point-blank range as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was no messing.
There's a reason to that. With every killing of her,
yeah, and I think that's the power thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
standing over him, and
it's not like, she's done a sneaky kill from behind. They say, everyone was face on, point blank range.
She.
Do you think this was because of the grandfather thing? This was her power over men.
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it?
Or maybe she went. Maybe she tried. Like, she was using sex as a power over him. What if someone stopped that power with her?
Yeah, I mean, like, that guy was a convicted rapist. So what's to say, like, that maybe he did try and do so? He did try and, like, rape her, or he tried to do something, and it was self-defense, but it triggered something. She got like a taste for it. She was like, "Oh, I got away with this, and I enjoyed it, and it gave me power, or whatever, whatever it may be." So yeah, I do wonder whether she got like a bit of a, I don't know if a taste for it's the right word, but a bit of a liking for it. So the second person she killed, which was in June the 1st, so that's, what are you talking, like a good 7 months, 8 months later. David Spears, age 43, who was a construction worker. On June the 1st, 1990, his naked body was found alongside the Florida State Road 19 in Citrus County. He'd been shot, like you say, point blank range 6 times. And it's like, there was like a little 8-month gap, but the kind of like brutality of the shooting from close range and overkill of like 6 times is, it's plain to see. It's
sadistic.
Yeah, I think that's the right term. Sadistic.
It's not just a murder; it's a slaying.
Yeah, it's like she's got a. I don't know if she's got a taste for the murder or a taste for the kind of power aspect of it, of standing over him.
Because I'm pretty sure she said in one of her interviews that she'd always been lesbian.
I'm not sure about that. I couldn't confirm.
Sure she said it in one of them. I may be wrong.
No.
Which is just, you've never heard of her hurting a woman or anything like that towards a woman, but it's weird.
No, and she said some freaky shit though. That's the problem. It's just picking out the sort of not sane stuff, but like some of it was completely incomprehensible. Some of the stuff she said, like, it didn't make any sense.
Wobble.
But like her last words, which we'll get to in a sec, she's just she was a bit of a show woman, in that she wasn't, especially after she got arrested, she wasn't afraid to.
You just hit the nail on the head. After she got arrested, that's where I think the switch of power was. she couldn't use sex or violence anymore.
So
So
she used
maybe
like
she was like,
notoriety.
maybe she was charming and witty and one of them. But as soon
Hmm.
as she realised, once that power was taken, then the power of violence, the power of sex might have been taken from her somehow. Power of violence gets taken. What have you got next? All you can do then is leave a legacy. So she became that psychopath that she wasn't really, if you get me.
Yeah, I think it's different. Like she's clearly was like a
Oh, she was clearly
psychopath,
fucking crazy
but
in a
I
box of
think
frogs.
when she got arrested, she's definitely played up on it. She's
Oh,
definitely like embraced the notoriety that comes with it.
yeah.
And you could tell that by some of the stuff she says.
And it's
So
the
yeah,
way she says it.
yeah, oh yeah, with those wide eyes
Yeah,
and
like you
that
look at some of
freedom and
Dahmer's
things.
interviews, and he's like quite calm and collective about it all, as if it's just his stamp collection.
Yeah, they're frightening people, mate.
That's why
But
you
she is
can't
particularly.
understand what makes people tick, because every single person is different.
Yeah, and like me and you find it difficult to like comprehend and understand because we wouldn't do it, and also
Yeah, you
because
say that though,
we
mate.
haven't
There's
been,
many a day when I felt like going on Michael Douglas falling down.
shooting some people
If
or
I had a
whatever.
terminal
Oh
illness,
yeah.
mate, if I had a terminal illness, I've got a list. It gets added to
Yeah.
daily.
The thing is, though, it's like all these people. It's difficult to understand the level of violence and abuse and stuff which they do and how they do it. Like some of the stuff which Dharma done was just fucking so messed up. Like with the injecting the hydraulic acid into the skull, and do you know what I mean? It's like even just thinking that stuff up, let
The
alone
thing is,
fucking
it's like
doing it.
him doing it, absolute fucking raving psychopath. I bet there's doctors who've like genuinely experimented with ways and things similar to that, thinking they're doing better.
Yeah, but
It's
mate,
that fine
like
line, isn't it?
there is a
Like
fine line.
Einstein said, it's that fine line between genius and crazy.
Oh yeah, but
Like
like
you listen to
the
Wuornos in
stuff.
her interviews and things, you can tell she's clever.
She's just.
She's fucking nuts, but you can see she's very street smart and very clever.
Well, you don't. She would never have made it out alive from her life, like her early life and her childhood and living in the woods and stuff. If she wasn't street smart, she
No.
wouldn't have made it, mate.
She'd have made
15-year-old
it all
girl
the way. She was
on
her
the
own
street.
downfall.
Yeah, maybe she went like. Well, obviously she did go too far, but like maybe she like not like not bought into her own hype as such. But like when she started killing and didn't get caught straight away, I do think that she sort of really got off on the power aspect there. And I think that's where it changed from almost reactionary to the abuse that she had suffered. So like a lot of those early crimes, I think were like almost like acting out because of the stuff that had happened to her. So she
In
just
some
thought, oh,
ways,
I
it's
gotta
like
do
revenge,
whatever the
isn't
fuck.
it? It's her way of getting revenge.
Maybe it's like I'd like they say like about people who've been victims of abuse. A lot of the time, it's about trying to get that power back, which has been taken away from you.
Yeah.
So,
And the
like, if you
only way
think
they
of the
know
stuff
to
that
get it
happened to
back
her,
is
yeah,
violence, sex.
and that's why so often, not so all the time, obviously, but like sometimes people who've been abused then go on to abuse, people
Yeah.
later in life
And you look at a
because
few of the guys she killed, like the one who owned his own store and things, the other one, president of the yacht club. They were quite powerful people, shall we say?
yeah, even if they weren't like super powerful in terms of
Yeah.
like politicians or whatever, or like governors, but they were
People of a higher
bosses.
stance than her.
Yeah, well, certainly she was living on the streets for a lot of the time, and she was prostituting herself out to make money.
That's
So
what
yeah,
makes me
David's.
think like back then she couldn't have been. the way she is in her interviews and all that, because no way would she have snagged these certain people.
Then in those days, mate, do you think like prostitution was more hidden back then? So maybe
No,
like
not even that. I mean, the
kind of
way she is
take
and the
what you
person
get
she
type thing.
is, the way she
Yeah,
comes
she is
across, the
like
way
she's
she
quite
speaks,
creepy and
she's fucking
maybe she wasn't always
mental.
like that. But do you think like
Imagine a
what we were
first
just
date
saying?
with someone like that. You'd be fake numbering them, wouldn't you?
Be like fucking something out of Black Mirror, mate. But
You'd
you
be
know what?
texting one of your mates, get me out of here, give me the call, give me the call.
You know, like what we were saying about she embraced like the notoriety and stuff. Is if she did do that and like thought, right, I'm gonna, really play it up. Maybe the wide eyes and the like the crazy speak and the acting like a psychopath, if you like, or like acting like the sort of stereotypical what people think.
Serial killer.
Yeah. So she played that up a bit so that
If she hadn't have done that, would there have been a film about her? Would anyone remember her? She only killed 7 people.
only.
In America, that's amateur, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not loads. Yeah, and I mean you're probably right. If she didn't act the way she did, she was really, she did lots of interviews. She was happy to be featured on, interviews and TV and stuff. So I do think maybe she did, dial it up a bit.
Oh,
Maybe
mate,
she's
that's
just clever.
100%. She was the fucking drama llama.
So the next one to die was Carxton. Carxton. I do apologise. I don't know how to pronounce
I
it.
gotta pause you 2 seconds, mate. I'm so sorry. I gotta run a drink upstairs. I can hear my girl coughing.
It's all right, mate.
I'll be down now. Sorry, mate. I'm back.
So I know, isn't it? Don't know what we were talking about then now. Yeah. So the next one was Charles Clarkson, age 40, 1990, May 31st. He was a part-time rodeo worker. And on June the 6th, 1990, his body was found in Pasco County. He'd been shot 9 times with the same sort of small caliber weapon. So like she's escalating every time. So it's gone like from, I think it was, the first one was like a couple, wasn't it? They found a couple of bullets, and it was self-defense, and then she's got away with it. The next time she shot the guy 6 times, and then the next time she shot the guy 9 times, and it's gone November 89, June 1990, May 1990. So she went from 7-month gap after the first one to then literally a month, if that, straight away, and it's gone up. Like she shot the last one 90 times, 99 times, which is, overkill, should we say.
Fuck yeah.
She's escalating with each kill.
I'd like to know, because the one thing she never sort of said was, were they like calm shots or was it done in a rage? Do you get me?
Yeah, whether she just stood in front of them and shot them, or
Yeah.
whether it was
I
like
know the way the film portrays it, but
an outpouring of
said,
rage.
she's never ever said, oh, I just went crazy or I was calm, I did this. It's never explained that bit.
Yeah, it'd be
She's,
interesting to know if it was like, like, like an outlet for sort of like rage,
or was it
or whether it
planned,
was like
premeditated
focused.
murder?
Yeah. Um,
She
so the
did
next
say
one,
every single one of them was in self-defense, pretty
yeah, I
much.
think she did at first, but then I think over the years she's sort of, she embraced it a bit more.
Yeah,
The
but
next one was go on.
was it actually premeditated, any of them? Did she plan the murders, or was it
I
a
think
spur of the moment thing, rage?
I think she might not have planned the details, but I think she planned to kill.
She knew
Whether
she
it
was
was
going to
these
kill
people,
him, just waiting for the time.
yeah, I didn't even know if
Yeah.
it was she knew she was going to kill these people, or whether she knew she was going to kill someone, and they just happened to be who she came across. I'm not 100% sure. Like the next guy was a retired merchant seaman. He was 65. He was a member of, or a devoted member of Christian Outreach Ministry. And in June 1990, so like May to June, she killed 3 people. Um, so Sims had
Well,
left Jupiter, Florida for Arkansas. And then on July 4th, his car was found in Orange Springs. They were seen abandoning the car. The guy, the Moore, which is her friend, the girl, Tylia, I think her name was, and Wuornos were seen abandoning Peter Sims's car. And Wuornos's palm print was found on the interior door handle, but his body was never found. And as far as I'm aware, has still never been found. Um, so you don't know if she escalated again in that, because it seems like that little period between May and June, she killed 3 people in like very very short space of time. Maybe something happened during that period to make her go on because she then had like a little bit of a break. I say a little, like a month, where Troy Burgess, who was a 50-year-old sausage salesman from Ocala, he went missing on he's reported missing on July 31st. August the 4th, his body was found in the woods again, by the same road, which was State Road 19. He'd been shot twice. So the overkill was gone, but she was still killing. So do you know what I mean? Like that period of
yeah.
June and May,
That's why I didn't
something
want to
must have
like jump
happened.
ahead of myself, but the one who got shot 9 times, that's what I'm thinking. Was it done in a rage? Was it premeditated? Because then straight from him, you go to him and it's 2 shots.
Mm. And like it's the short space of time as well, like 31st of May to 10th of June, whatever it was. It's like she all of a sudden like killed 3 people in like a month.
Yeah.
And all of them, each one escalated, and then she left it a month, and this guy was just shot twice again. Then Charles, or otherwise known as Dick Humphreys, was aged 56, 11th of September. He was a retired Air Force major, which is ironic that a retired Air Force major died on September the 11th.
Yeah.
Wow. But he was a state child abuse investigator and former chief of police. September the 12th, his body was found in Marion County. He was fully clothed, but he'd been shot 6 times in the head and torso. His
And
car was
again,
found
a
in a
very
different county.
powerful person.
Oh yeah, I think he might have been the most sort of
Yeah.
powerful.
Prolific.
Yeah, it's but yeah, again, 6 times head and torso. His car was found in another county again.
And again, chief of police, let's be fair, especially the American police, they build up that knack to like suss someone out, don't they?
Yeah, and I guess that's it. Maybe you'd never know, do you, whether
There
there
is
was
no
some
way
sort of.
she is the person she is in her interviews. No way.
She must have been. There must have been a difference to it, mustn't there, for
Yeah,
it
she
to
must
be
be,
able
the
to
norm.
get these people in a position where they could be killed in the
Unless she
way.
was really like charming and witty, because she's ugly as fuck.
I mean, the only other thing is maybe like she had him at gunpoint and she controlled him that way. You know,
Yeah, but she'd have to lure him places and all that, and something would have gone
not
wrong
really,
with
not really, not
someone.
necessarily. If she, for instance, posed as like a hitchhiker, they stop. She gets in the car when she got a gun. You know, she can say drive to the woods, and it's done. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't
Yeah.
need to charm him or do any of that sort of
Wait, yeah,
stuff.
it
She
doesn't
can just
actually.
control him that way.
Now you said that, I don't know where she's actually like met any of them.
I think in the film, I'm sure in the film, a lot of it's portrayed as like she gets in the car as a prostitute.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's the way the film portrays her. Um,
that
but
could be the case, couldn't it? Because that
but my
people use
internet
prostitutes.
laptop's gone down, so I can't check, which is a bit frustrating. Um, and then finally was Walter Antonio, age 62, who was a security guard and police reservist. And November 19th, his naked body, was found near a remote log-in site. He'd been shot 4 times. 5 days later, his car was found. So they're the people she killed.
It does make sense that she'd do it as a prostitute, and that's why she got away with it for so long. Because
Yeah,
they're
and
not going
I'm
to say
sure that's
where they're going, are they? So the police haven't even got a clue to go off.
no, and I'm sure that's what they portray in the film. Like I say, my bloody internet on my laptop's not working for some reason, so I can't. I just went to quickly check then, and it's not working. So I'm going off my memory, which is not always the best in terms of film. Um, but I think that's how they portrayed it in the film.
Yeah,
Into
they did.
just like finishing it off with a sort of apprehension and sentencing and stuff. Um, so July the 4th, 1990, her and her friend abandoned Peter Seames's car, which is the guy who was never found, because they were
What?
involved in an
What did,
accident.
what did her girlfriend?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's the lady
Moore,
who she with Tilia Tyler Moore.
Tyler Moore.
Um,
Yeah,
they they were in Peter Seames's car, had an accident, and then legged it, and their witnesses saw them sort of driving the car and running away. Gave the police the descriptions. They found, like I said, the fingerprints and the palm print inside the car, and obviously she had a criminal record in Florida. So when they ran the fingerprints, everything was on file. January 9th, 1991, she was arrested on an outstanding warrant for at the Last Resort Biker Bar. The police located their friend Tylia Moore the next day in Scranton, Pennsylvania. She agreed to elicit a confession from Wuornos in exchange for immunity from prosecution. See, I don't know how I feel about that, because whilst there's nothing to say that Moore killed anyone, it does seem like
she must have known.
she took part in the luring of them, or she took part in the, she was abandoning the cars and stuff.
Yeah,
But I
she's
mean,
aiding and
but
abetting. But not
there's a
even
big
that.
difference in there.
If you
There
know
is a big
someone's doing
difference.
these things, you know you're wrong if you don't do something about it.
Yeah, I guess there is that.
Unless, again, unless Wernos was that sort of charming and believable, she convinced her that every one of them was self-defense.
Yeah,
I don't
especially
know
if you.
Moore's background and her upbringing, so
Yeah, and that rings a bell from the film as well, in that her sort of convincing her that she was doing the prostitution, and they attacked her, and then she sort of told them that it was self-defense.
yeah.
That makes sense. So she agreed to try and get a confession as long as she had immunity, basically. Um, so under the police guidance, she made telephone. She phoned her, pleading for her to clear her name, 3 days later, which was January the 16th, 91, Wuornos confessed to the murders. She claims that the men had tried to rape her and she killed them in self-defense. So that was the January 91, and then a year later, in January 92, she went to trial for murder of Mallory, who, although previous convictions are normally inadmissible in criminal trials under the Florida, it's called the Williams Rule, the prosecution was allowed to introduce evidence related to other crimes just to show a pattern of behavior and activity. She was convicted of the Mallory's murder with the help of Moore's testimony. At the sentencing, psychiatrists for the defense testified that she was mentally unstable, had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and 4 days later she was sentenced to death. She pleaded no contest to the murders of Humphreys, Burrs, and Spears, saying she wanted to get right with God. In a statement to the court, she said, in part, I wanted to confess to you that Richard Mallory did violently rape me, as I've told you, but these others did not. They only began to start to. On May 15th, she was given 3 more death sentences. So she says that Mallory actually raped her and then she killed him, whereas she said the others tried to, and then she killed them. However, it's despite everything and her being very creepy and unsettling and kind of admitting to everything, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that they did try and rape her, because she was a prostitute. They could easily have wanted to rape her or whatever and not pay. It's not completely.
It was the world she lived in as such. You hear of these stories and things. They're basically just shoplifters.
Yeah. She in June 92, she pleaded guilty to the murder of Carcassonne. In November 92, she received her 5th death sentence. How many times can you kill one person? The defense
That cracks me up with America. The 5th death sentence.
Just kill her. Like if you give someone a death sentence, just give it.
Well, no, I want to see in an electric chair that's got a guillotine above it with an electrode strapped to her while someone injects her.
Well, so they all go at the same time.
All at the same time.
The defense tried to sort of introduce evidence that Mallory had been tried for intent to commit rape in another state, and he'd been committed to a maximum security prison that provided remediation to sexual offenders. But the records obtained from that institution reflected that from 58 to 62, he was actually there for that reason, criminal charge of assault with intent to rape. But I mean, he received 8 years of treatment in that facility. But and that's the other thing. They said that in the court that Mr. Mallory, who was the first one she was convicted of, had strong sociopathic tendencies. So I mean, but the judge refused to allow that to be admitted in court as evidence, and they denied Wuornos' request for a retrial. Wuornos pleaded guilty to the murder of Antonio, was sentenced to death again. No charges were brought against her for the murder of Seams because the body was never found. In all, she received 6 death sentences. So they never recovered the body of Seams, and she was never charged because they never found the body, which, that's slightly weird because she's got the notoriety thing. She clearly embraced the sort of that side of it. You'd think that she'd want to admit and say where the Seams body is. She's being put to death anyway. It's not going to make any difference.
Well, technically it's a power thing, isn't it? I know you don't. That's
Yeah.
her last grasp of power.
Mm.
I think with
She
her,
told.
that's what it was all along. Like it was power.
Yeah, possibly. She told like quite a lot of inconsistent stories about the killings and stuff. Like she had claimed that all the men had raped her while she was working as a prostitute, but then she later changed it to claims of self-defense or robbery, um, and a desire to
That's
leave
with
no
that
witnesses.
self-defense thing. She said only one of them actually raped her. The others tried to.
Yeah,
So
she
did
said
she
that in court.
physically overpower every single one of them to get to her gun?
Mm.
It
And like she
doesn't
said
all
that,
add up.
but like to start with, she had said they were robbing her, or it was, she changed her story quite a lot. And she did a documentary with a filmmaker called Nick Broomfield, where when she thought the cameras were off, she told him that it was in fact self-defense, but she could not stand being on death row, where she had been for 10 years at that point, and she just wanted to die. So there's that side of it. But
Yeah,
like if she's as clever as we suspect, she'd easily do that, and she knows like she could. It's not difficult to work out if the cameras are on or off. Um, but yeah, depends how clever she is, I guess.
yeah,
When she did the psychopath checklist. She scored 32 out of 40, which is pretty bloody high, to be fair. Isn't it?
yeah,
Um, it that like evaluates individuals on a 20-item list of antisocial and interpersonal behaviours, with each item scoring 0, 1, or 2. The maximum obviously is 40, depending on the location and research perspective. Scores above 25 or 30 are consistent with psychopathy. Psychopathy.
some of the
Uh,
things they like question people about and things though it's crazy how a brain works and responding to things. Like I remember the place we both used to work for.
yeah, yeah,
Well, if you remember, I got onto a very high level management training thing,
yeah,
and we all underwent this questionnaire before this event finished, where they were going to pick like the winners as such. And I
yeah.
think it was something ridiculous, mate, like 1,000 questions, and it was only a yes or no answer, and it was you had to click it as fast as you could, going through it all.
Mm.
And I'll never forget two questions in a row. The first one was, "Do you want to go deep sea diving? Yes or no?" Then the next one was, "Have you ever wanted to kill your parents?"
Fuck.
But I answered yes to both. Because honestly,
Didn't get the
most of
job.
the time, you're not even taking the question in what's there. It's your
Yeah.
immediate yes no answer because we were all timed, whatever. And I spoke to, we had a psychiatrist there as well who was assessing us or whatever it might be. I spoke to them after, and they said I was the first one to finish by like quite a few minutes. And they basically said to me, "You were the only one really who did the test properly. You didn't read the questions, you just answered as such." And they told me about them two questions because I couldn't even remember it being in there, to be honest, mate. And they
Mm.
said it's the way they wrote out this questionnaire and things. And they said the answer you've given is the right answer.
Mm.
How can it be? I was like, no, that's the wrong answer, mate. And he went, no. He said, every single child on this planet who has their parents around at some point will wish they were dead. He said it is natural human nature of a child. He said you've given the correct answer. He said that's just your natural brain answering it. He said
It's
the ones who
messed up,
answer
that,
it
isn't it?
no, they think about it before they answer it. And
Yeah.
it's one of the weirdest things ever to me. And when he's the way he explains it then, he's right, mate, because every child, I'll guarantee at some point that they don't know what they're saying or the gravity of it, but they'll
No.
think it.
Yeah, I guess so.
My
But like,
youngsters said it, wish you were dead. They don't know what it means. And they
no.
don't really wish you were.
It's just like one of those things you
Yeah.
say in a rage type thing. They but like those like psychopathic tests and stuff. They
Psychoanalysis.
like yeah, it's like they can be interpreted different as well by different parts of the world, different doctors. But don't get me wrong, like I've got no doubt that Aileen Wuornos is a psychopath.
Batshit crazy.
So to finish off,
them tests could determine a sane person crazy and vice versa.
Yeah, and that's why I always think. So, yeah, you know, she was executed on the 9th of October 2002. She declined her last meal, which instead she opted for a cup of coffee. Her last words were, "Yes, yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus." June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all. I'll be back. I'll be back. She was the 10th woman in the United States to be executed and the second in Florida. Yeah, she's very unsettling to watch.
Yeah.
And just to finish off, I wanted to just talk about there was that director of the documentary, Nick Broomfield. He's a very famous documentary about her. It's called Aileen, the Life and Death of a Serial Killer. And I just wanted to finish by saying, like, reading what he said about her. And he said, he said, I was so disturbed by the subject matter that I couldn't even watch the documentary back. She led a torturing life that is beyond my worst nightmares. It wasn't until I was told that Aileen spent many hours listening to my album Tiger Lily while on death row and requested that Carnival be played at her funeral that I gave permission for the use of the song. It's very odd to think of places my music can go once it leaves my hands. If I gave her some solace, I have to be grateful. So he could not even watch the documentary he made with her just because she was so creepy and unsettling and the stuff she was saying, which I think is a good way to finish off on Aileen Wuornos. It's she killed 7 people. We both, she's very unsettling to watch. The film about her is really good. I do think it's probably been Hollywooded up a bit, but it is very good. And I
definitely Charlize Theron's best role.
Oh yeah, and she won the awards to go with it.
Yeah.
So guys, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Serial Killer Files episode. Obviously, we have 3 shows a week coming out: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Video versions, youtube.com Ace Podcast Nation. Audio versions are at podcast.co, ACEcast, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and TuneIn Radio. You can check us out on facebook.com/AceCast Nation, Twitter at AceCast_Nation. You can check Rhys out at Shore Celtic on Twitter. And until next time, we will see you later. Cheers.